Here's Mayor Chow.
Oh yeah, okay. Better choice than the last one. The last one I was like, when he took his last job, I was doing
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Right now, as we await Mayor Chow to give us the details of the 421-page budget, what we're going to do is bring in Kim Wright, Principal Wright Strategies, as well as Adam Vaughn, former MP and Toronto City Councillor. So I want to start off with this. The title of this 2024 budget, Back on Track. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, what you're going to see is Olivia Chow in Scarborough, where, as viewers will remember, the Scarborough Rapid Transit literally came off the tracks. If that is not a symbol for the John Tory administration and what did and did not get done in state of good repairs, in the things that you expect to see as Torontonians, this is a pretty good metaphor going forward.
Okay, Kim, hold on right there. We'll come back to you. Mayor Chow speaking.
For budget. I'm here today at Scarborough Centre Station, a former stop of the Scarborough Rapid Transit line, a fitting symbol of the problems we face. After too many years of service, the SRT broke down, derailed, and had to be closed. It made life much harder for people in Scarborough. And it's not just Scarborough. Life is harder for a lot of people these days. In fact, 1 in 10 people in this city relied on food banks. A third of them children. Children like Ariana, whose family fled the war in Ukraine with just 2 suitcases and a backpack. But now she has to take 3 buses to the local food bank because her mom can't pay rent and put food on the table. Ariana should not go to bed hungry. We cannot continue to fail kids like her. We desperately need Toronto to get back on track. I'll be blunt. I inherited a financial mess, a $1.8 billion hole in the budget. It was created by the cost of the pandemic and a past financial strategy that didn't face reality and avoided making hard choices. We can't avoid hard choices anymore. So I'm fixing the financial mess and getting Toronto back on track. The New Deal for Toronto uploaded the Gardner and the DVP and gave us fiscal room so we can invest in housing, transit, and fix what is broken. Thank you, Premier Ford, for your partnership. The federal government has also stepped up big time for our city to help us build more housing. I'm very optimistic about yesterday's announcement on refugee shelter funding. Thank you, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, Minister Miller, and the 416 Liberal Caucus. As we built the budget, we found over $500 million in savings through a diligent line-by-line review. To those who say we haven't done enough to find savings, I say this. We cannot cut our way out of this mess. If we cut deeper, we could be cutting a bone and hitting the marrow. It would only accelerate the decline of our transit system. It would be damaging. It would also damage our ability to provide affordable housing. It would make it harder to service parks, protect people in an emergency, or even just filling potholes. It would damage our city, and we can't do that. But even with all our hard work, we are still in a budget hole. We still need to increase the revenue so vital city services don't decline further. We ask speculators who leave their housing units vacant in the middle of a housing crisis, and those that can afford big luxury homes to pay a bit more. We also listened to Torontonians. We heard from 11,000 people in the fall, 38,000 in recent telephone town halls, 1,000 more at local meetings hosted by councillors. And we also heard lots of people in deputations. I've listened to CEO, the business communities, and in chance encounter on the street, people have not been shy about giving their own unsolicited advice. We heard about people's priorities and that affordability is top of mind. I heard you. And so this year's operating budget is based on a property tax increase of 8%, lower than the rate proposed in the staff budget. This amounts to less than $1 a day for the average household. And there are programs available to cancel or offset the impact for low-income seniors and people with disabilities. To protect renters at a time when they're already feeling squeezed, the budget sets the total municipal residential tax rate at 3.5%, meaning landlords cannot apply for above guideline rent increases. After all that hard work to clean up the financial mess, we can now chart a path forward towards a more affordable, caring, and safe city. Starting right here in Scarborough, I am pleased to announce that the budget fully funds the construction of the proposed busway along the RT corridor. Yay, yes, yes, woo, yes. By the way, I'm joined today by the local ward councillor, Michael Thompson, our chair of the TDC Commission, Jamal Myers, and Councillor Paul Ainsley. Now, Scarborough residents had some of the longest commutes. They deserved reliable and convenient public transit. Fully funding the busway means saving Scarborough transit riders 20 minutes each day. That's valuable time they can spend with their friends and loved ones. The budget also frees TDC fares while increasing service levels and hiring over 160 highly visible TTC workers to improve safety. Getting Toronto back on track, also meeting the urgency of our housing crisis with the immediacy of our action. On top of the 1,300 rent geared to income homes announced in the staff budget, this budget builds more housing faster. It empowers and protects tenants while helping those experiencing homelessness. Toronto is losing affordable housing 14 times faster than we're building it. That's why this budget makes an historic investment. $100 million over 3 years into the multi-unit residential acquisition program. Through this expansion, thousands of tenants feeling insecure, facing eviction, rent increases, and demoviction will have an opportunity to live in a secure, affordable, rent-controlled home. This is made possible by funding from the federal and the provincial government. And the vacant home tax is not from the property tax. Now, 1 in 2 Torontonians are renters. They're feeling less secure by the day. So we're investing in programs that protect and empower renters in these difficult times. Whether you're in a basement apartment facing an illegal rent increase, or you're a few dollars short at the end of the month, or your landlord just isn't fixing your heat after many cold Toronto nights, your city will be there for you. And for those who find themselves on the street, your city we'll be there for you too, to provide food, health care, laundry, dignity at 22 drop-in centers across the city. This is on top of the money outlined in the staff budget to support more shelters and warming centers. Investing in young people and communities is one of the best ways to make our city safer and more vibrant. That's why I am investing in youth violence prevention and building strong neighborhoods right here in Scarborough and across the city. Young people visited the Toronto Library's Youth Hubs 140,000 times last year, and I'm creating 3 more hubs to expand the popular and very successful program. Now, children cannot learn when they're hungry. My budget provides 220,000 kids with nutritious food in schools at a time when family food budgets are getting squeezed by inflation. Safety also means that when people are in a mental health crisis, the first response is care. My budget fully funds the new 24/7 Toronto Community Crisis Service, and it expands it citywide. We are also funding hundreds more firefighters, paramedics, police officers, and civilian staff. Getting our city back on track means quite simply getting the basic rights right. My budget includes a new $50 million back on track funds for urgent state of good repair, like fixing potholes and beautifying our parks and public spaces across the city. This budget will be over 2 years. I'm also giving direction to the city staff to speed up building the new community and child care centers because people have waited so long for them. This all thanks to the New Deal. And as we get our city back on track, people should be able to see the progress we are making. We will roll out clear targets and measures that results and look at how fast we are approving and building affordable housing. We will measure people's satisfaction with services like 311. And we will also establish clear service levels and response time for emergency services. Today is not the end, but the beginning of our journey together. Getting our city back on track after years of decline will take all of us working together to build a more affordable, caring, and safer city where everyone belongs. That's our shared goal, our shared dream. It's what we've been hoping for while we're stuck in traffic, trying to get a sip of water from a broken water fountain, or waiting for a decade for an affordable place to live. Let's get to work together to get Toronto back on track. Thank you. Joining me for some comments is our TDC chair, Jamel Meyer.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Jamal Myers, and I'm the City Councillor for the amazing residents of Scarborough North, as well as Chair of the TTC. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about some of the great things ahead for the TTC, which is the lifeblood of our city. One of the things I'm most excited about is fare integration, which starts today. This means that whenever folks connect to or from the TTC from other GTHA transit systems, we will no longer be paying full double fares. This means, for example, that Scarborough residents taking the 902 Markham to Steeles and then continuing to York Region Transit only pay the 90-cent difference between their TTC fare and their YRT fare, rather than the additional $4.25 it would have cost before. This means more money in your pockets. As chair of the TTC board, I was proud to lead the board in making this a reality, along with my counselor, my colleague, Councillor Paul Ainsley. Mayor Chow's budget aims to keep even more money in the pockets of transit riders by freezing transit fares while at the same time increasing services through the new money received as part of the Mayor and Premier's New Deal for Toronto. Expanding transit dramatically while increasing service is key to keeping Toronto and Torontonians moving. This budget not only will allow for service level increases to 97% of pre-pandemic levels, it will also provide the necessary operating and maintenance costs for the Eglinton Crosstown and Finch West LRT, which are expected to be running later this year. Like many Torontonians, I thought this day would never come, and I know I'm not the only one excited to take my first ride on these new transit lines, which will make a transformational difference in the lives of so many people, from the students at Humber College to the small business owners along the Golden Mile. Safety of passengers and the well-being of TTC employees is also something the Mayor, the CEO of the TTC, Rick Leary, and I are all deeply committed to ensuring. Transit riders and employees want and deserve to feel safe on our transit network. That's why this budget includes a $28.2 million investment specifically for safety, security, and well-being of our customers and employees. This investment not only allows for the hiring of more critical TTC staff to increase staff presence around all our subway stations, but ensures that the necessary supports are available for the unhoused or people in crisis who use the TTC as a shelter of last resort. I'm proud that this budget continues the city's multidisciplinary outreach team pilot program into 2025. I took the TTC this morning and I ran into one of my favorite Scarborough bus drivers, Shernette, at Kennedy Station, and who also happens to be one of my favorite constituents. Seeing her smiling face and chatting about her day reminded me about the importance of providing good and equitable transit that is necessary for so many residents in Scarborough. So many of us were disheartened to say goodbye to the Line 3 SRT a few months ago, which was not only a piece of Scarborough's identity, but a vital transit corridor that keeps so many of us moving through this part of the city. Back in May, I was proud to play a leading role in fighting to ensure that the money needed for the SRT busway was secured. This was an important milestone in keeping this Scarborough Transit project moving ahead, and I want to thank my Scarborough colleagues, Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey, Paul Ainsley, Nick Mantis, and Michael Thompson for their leadership in helping to make this happen. This was Team Scarborough at work for our residents. I would also like to personally thank Mayor Chow, who promised in her campaign to build the busway one way or another, and because of her commitment and her leadership, we are standing here today to make it happen. So thank you, Mayor Chow. I would also like to thank our newest councillor, Parthy Candival, who ran on ensuring the busway got built and who has been doing that ever since he got to City Hall. As we move forward from May, I'm happy to see that funding will be allocated to this budget specifically for the SRT busway replacement. Scarborough residents already face some of the longest transit commutes in our city, and ensuring we keep this project on track while we wait for the Scarborough subway extension to open is important to the quality of life for so many Scarborough residents, particularly our youth, seniors, and people with disabilities. These past few months have not only shown me the importance of having a Scarborough councillor as TTC chair, a role I'm grateful to have been appointed to by Mayor Chow, but it also showed me what happens when we come together as a community with the goal of improving transit in our city, which is transformational for so many residents. Finally, I'd like to thank the incredible staff at the TTC, starting with CEO Rick Leary and his leadership team, and the 16,000 men and women who go to work every day to keep our city moving. Without your hard work, dedication, and commitment, we wouldn't be standing here today to celebrate the historic investment in our transit system. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Councillor Michael Thompson.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the heart of Scarborough, Scarborough Centre. I'm delighted to welcome Mayor Chow, who is no stranger, of course, to Scarborough, my two Scarborough colleagues, Councillor Ainsley and Councillor Myers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our community. I am proud to stand here this morning and acknowledge Mayor Chow's leadership. We've all had strong discussions about specific issues about the budget and the overall impact and the challenge that budgets will always convey whenever you're dealing with them. This is my 21st year of being elected as Scarborough councillor. None of the budgets that we've dealt with in the past have been easy. They've always been very difficult. What is unique and different about this particular budget, in my view, there has been a considerable amount of energy that has been brought forward by the collective approach and the leadership of Mayor Chow and all members of Community Council, and the deliberation and the conversation about what is important in our city and to the very people that are in need. There was a time you could go to the dollar store and you could get something for $1. Those days are gone. You no longer get anything for $1 other than the name. There may be one or two things there. So the recognition that the city, and as the mayor has indicated, this budget really collectively asks Torontonians to contribute $1 per day to have a more livable city, a better city, where there's investment in transit, investment in daycare, investment in obviously long-term care, and investment in young people and our youth. It's extremely important for us as a caring city to ensure that this city and the vitality of it and the livability of this city is of benefit to every single person. I wanted to come this morning to speak specifically to the investment, to the replacement or the bus rapid transit way for our community. My ward of Scarborough Centre has been immensely impacted by the decision and the derailment that has taken place in our community. We now have dedicated bus lanes on Kennedy Road where there wasn't. We now have dedicated bus lanes on Ellesmere where there wasn't before. We now have dedicated bus lanes on Midland Avenue where there wasn't before. It has an impact to our community, both in terms of businesses that are impacted, both in terms of residents who now have to take more time and cause delay. And as Mayor Chow spoke about, the investment in transit will increase the opportunity to reduce the amount of time that people are spending traveling on transit, so they have more time for their families, friends, and whatever else they need time for. The impact to my community as a result of the loss of the SRT and the derailment that has taken place is very measurable and it's very impactful. There isn't a day that goes by since we've made these new changes in the community that I don't get calls and or emails about the impact that it's actually having on our community. So the idea that there would be no funding to allow us to get to the busway much sooner, as opposed to waiting for 7 years or maybe even longer, was one that created such hardship and concern for my community. They are delighted this morning with the mayor's announcement and the decision and the leadership, Mayor, that you bring to the table. And on behalf of every person in my community, and I know the chair of the TTC has spoken about Scarborough and so on, and we understand the benefit. But in my community, the heart of this area where the transit impact is felt the most because of, not only because of the loss of the SRT, but also the intrusion in the community and the challenges that we've faced. We have areas in the community where you'll be able to turn in the past, you're not able to turn now. And Mayor, unfortunately, I saw some people getting tickets a couple of days ago from the police because of that. So again, it adds to the burden and it adds to the impact on people's pocketbooks. So I'm delighted to work with the mayor and members of council to address the challenges that this city is facing, because it's only when we work together that we get the best impact for all of us. And Mayor, again, I want to thank you for your leadership. I'm delighted that you're here in my community in Scarborough to make this really important announcement about the budget and the impact, and that you have listened to our community and you're delivering. So again, thank you so much for that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Some of you might have some questions.
Questions
Or
from
not?
media, please use the microphone, state your name and outlet, please.
Mayor Chow, David Ryder from the Toronto Star. First question is about police funding. I see no mention of it. There's a vague reference to $8 million that councillors can fight over for things including, I think, public security, but also windrows. So you were lobbied extremely hard by the chief and by the police association. Why not the extra $12.6 million they were asking for?
In this budget, there are funds to hire paramedics, emergency staff, firefighters, and this year there will be 200 new police officers, civilians that will be joining the police force. There will be conversation. Already the city's budget provide $25 million for the police, plus a $10 million reserve funds for special policing, special events. Also, they do not have to contribute $25 million into city's reserve funds, and plus there are funds put aside for negotiation. So in total, without talking about the negotiation funds, it's over $60 million, and that's a very big increase to the police budget.
Follow-up question is about the announcement this morning of federal and provincial funding for FIFA and the World Cup. You didn't sound excited about the World Cup, sort of said we have to go along with it because there's a contract signed. What do you react to the announcement, and are you any more excited about it now?
Yeah. I'm very pleased. In the last 2 days, there have been several announcements, one of which this morning is the FIFA, that we've signed a bid, and we've been waiting for the provincial and the federal government to step up. The province have, and I believe the federal government would soon also, and they've made a commitment when we signed the bid. So I'm excited that the World Cup is coming to Toronto in 2026. And also yesterday there was an announcement for federal funding for asylum seeker, which means that we will be able to continue to shelter the large number of refugees. At this point, it's close to 6,000 of them that are in the city shelter system.
Hi, Mayor Matthew Bingley with Global News. I'm just wondering about the FIFA money. It is conditional on the federal government coming through with funding. We've heard that conditional spending for subway trains as well. I'm just wondering how you feel about the federal government's response to those conditional asks and whether you think that they are responding quickly enough to them.
I can't speak on behalf of the federal government. I just know that the federal government have committed to the FIFA bid. We've been in conversation with the federal government, and it's been very positive, and there will be more details coming forward. In fact, there's a full staff report that would deal with FIFA in the coming council meeting in end of February. I have also asked David Sanaki, who's the former budget chief of the City of Toronto. David Sanaki has been assisting me and the city in looking at the FIFA budget since last fall. He's done a lot of good work, and he's continuing that good work to make sure that the FIFA World Cup Games is successful, and that we are spending the money in the most fiscally responsible way.
And on the property tax drop, you're doing that by rating the reserves, which we've heard is not something that city staff prefer. On top of that, you're building the busway using long-term capital costs for the TTC. Do you worry that you're sort of robbing the cupboard to pay for things up front and that you won't really have things left over for other issues if they pop up?
Not at all, not at all. Because of the New Deal, because of the uploading of the Gardner and DVP, something that we've been asking for several decades. And we want to thank Premier Ford for the New Deal. And because of that, we now have fiscal room to enable us to get the city back on track and fix the financial mess. That's exactly what we're doing. We're fixing, not only fixing the financial mess, we're able to fund the Scarborough RT busway. We are able to put money aside to fix the potholes, make sure water fountains, those small basic things that we need to do well. We're doing that this year because of the contribution from both the federal and the provincial government. Also, the federal government provided us $500 million worth of funding to build affordable housing. So we are doing that. In this budget, there are funds that we will be building housing faster and a lot more. So we are starting on a journey to make life more affordable for Torontonians.
Mayor Chow, Sean Jefford, CBC Toronto. This tax increase, if it's passed, will be the highest since amalgamation. It'll be a record. During the election campaign, you promised a modest tax increase. Do you think this is a modest tax increase?
This increase is comparing to last year, is 8%. Last year was 5.5%. It is less than $1 a day. And for that, I believe is fairly modest because I don't know, a Timmy's is a lot more than that. Councillor Thompson is right. You go to a dollar store, you can't get much with $1. Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. It is true, absolutely. So it is fairly modest, and we have to make tough choices. I'm not willing to cut service anymore. I'm not willing to see the city decline. I'm not willing to see potholes everywhere, to run into water fountains that doesn't work, washrooms that are closed. It's just on and on and on. We have to invest because if not, the city will be in decline further. On top of that, Torontonians are already finding it hard these days because the cost of living have gone up, life have become unaffordable, and this is when they need the city most. This is the time when they get their kids to school, they want a nutritious snack or something to help the kids so that they can learn better. And if they're facing evictions, and if they're a few dollars short, we can prevent the eviction from taking place by helping tenants. That helps them through our hard times, that provide hope for young people, for tenants, for kids, and that's what we're called to do. That's what city service must do. So we must invest, and we cannot let people behind. That's not who I am.
Mayor Chow, on Minister Miller's announcement yesterday, he announced the funding allotment for Quebec, but he did not say what Toronto will get of that pot of $362 million. Do you know what that figure is, and will it be enough? Is it the $250 million that the city has asked for?
There will be more to come in terms of all the details of how much and when, and all of that is being worked on, and you will hear some news soon.
Jaden Lee Lincoln, Global News. I was going to ask the same thing, but just to be clear, that means Torontonians won't have to expect that 6% that was originally possibly going to be in the mix as well.
Yes, that was the staff report. There was a staff budget, and during all the conversation, the 36,000 people that participated in 3 telephone town halls. Hundreds of people came down to City Hall making deputations, asking us to fix the financial mess, but get the city back on track. They want life to be more affordable. They want us to build housing. They want us to take care of the homeless. They want a city that's more caring and affordable. That's exactly what I'm doing. Chinese New Year's is coming. 8 is a very appropriate, good number, and that's where it's at. It's 8% for property tax.
Clara Pasica, CBC. Mayor Chow, you've mentioned a few times the federal government's contributions. How close are you to getting what you think that the city really does deserve from the federal government?
We've been having very productive conversation with the federal government. We're very grateful for their partnership in the past, whether it's on housing, on the environment, on public transit, on child care services. They've stepped up. And yesterday we saw the immigration minister stepped up again as to precisely how much it is for Toronto. We are a city, not a province. They are working that out with us. You will hear an announcement about that funding contribution very soon.
And this question is for your council colleagues here. So this $8 million that's been allocated for the February 14th City Council meeting to resolve any outstanding debates, would any of you council colleagues like to share what will be the top of your list in those debates?
What's your top?
Sorry. So Councillor Paul Ainsley, Scarborough Gilwood. I want to thank Mayor Chow for her budget this morning. As I was standing there listening to all the points that she was going through, and I was checking off in my head the things that were being covered off. And first and foremost, as a city councillor, I have 5 neighborhood improvement areas in my ward. Those are the residents that concern me the most, that are looking for improved breakfast programs, youth hubs, very important to me as well. As the former chair of the board of directors of the Toronto Public Library, a current board member, very important to me. I get comments all the time from youth in particular that they want a place to study, a place they feel safe. I have a youth hub in my ward now at the Cedarbrae Public Library. It's very well used. Youth hubs, very important to us. Open hours so that people have, once again, that safe place to go to. So ultimately, I'm very happy with the budget. I know there's some things that still need to be looked at and reviewed, like windrows, which are very important to my residents. I have a large senior population in my area that needs to get out of their homes, and that's a key part of that. And I'm going to continue to work on that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hello.
Good morning, Mayor. Momin Qureshi from City News. Just wanted to ask about property taxes. I know you managed to chop it down by 1%, but it still comes in at a record number for the city, and you know affordability is the #1 issue. So what do you say to people of Toronto who are looking at that number and wondering where that money is going to come from?
Fear not. The City of Toronto have tax cancellation, tax deferral program. Whether you're a senior or someone on pension, on disability, we are here to help. We don't want people that can't afford the extra $1 a day, or less than $1 a day, to have a hard time. We don't want to see that happen. We have these programs. The portal at the City of Toronto will open soon. We will support you. To all the tenants that are worried, that's 52%. It's like 1 out of 2 Torontonians live, as renters. You would not have to have a huge rent increase because we're saying to the landlord, you cannot go to the tribunal and use this as an excuse to bump up the rent because we have lowered the multi-residential tax rate from 4.25 to 3.5. So that meets the provincial threshold, meaning that they cannot use this increase to ask for an illegal rent increase. So the tenants are protected from this budget, well, protected in many ways, but certainly because of the increase in property tax.
And just when it comes to the police budget, a few councillors have openly said they're going to fight this on the floor of council and try to get that money put in. I know we have that $8 million to play around with, but just what are you expecting? A lot of those people that are willing to fight this are people who are have been in your good graces so far since you became mayor. So what are you expecting on the 14th?
Well, we'll talk together. I am known to be a consensus builder. And it's important that we create a budget that brings us back on track. And everybody knows that I inherited a huge financial mess. So as they study my budget carefully, we'll also talk about the amount of funds that all the emergency services have received. We have also put in terms of safety, 160 TDC staff into all the subway stations in all the places to keep people from feeling very safe when they take the TDC. We've also hired traffic warden, and you can see them out there helping to move the traffic along in the downtown core, and it's been very successful. Those are things that the police used to do. But most importantly, we believe in safety. And we want to deal with the root cause of violence. And that is why you see an investment in young people. After school activities, leadership training, employment programs, youth hubs, all of those things that give young people purpose, engage them, give them a good positive role models so they can be successful in life.
Beatrice Faisman, CP24. Mayor, you've talked a lot about choices, and I think people are going to want to see some tangible results if they're paying more out of pocket. How do you measure those results? How do you assure people that they will actually see an improvement in services?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. That's very important to me. Because as we invest, when you buy something, you need to see it. When you purchase a service, you want to see results. That's why in the budget, there's one section that talks about targets, goals, measurements, whether we can track it through 311, right? When you call 311, are you getting the results? Are you getting the service? Are you happy with the service you have? How long does it take? So it's not just 311, but it's also the emergency services. It's all the service we provide. We will set standards, we will set targets, we will set goals. Many of that is already available, but we will have an annual report to tell people, this is your city, this is your service. This is how we make progress. This is how we're going to improve. Now, we will never be totally perfect. We would like to be close to perfect, but we also, by being so transparent and accountable, we will also ask residents, how do you think we can do even better? That will help us build next year's budget, right? Because we want to measure results.
I notice you've only got 3 of the Scarborough councillors here behind you. There's several missing. Councillor Mantis, McKelvey, Candeval. Are you disappointed that there isn't more of a presence behind you? Were they asked to be here to support?
No, not at all. I invited the local councillor, chair of the TDC. Councillor Ainsley is also on TDC. And perhaps...
We all have a lot of meetings. The 3 of us are all watching our watches. We have another meeting we have to be at.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that my colleagues don't want to be here. I was just at a meeting with Councillor McKelvey at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just with my councillor. I left this meeting. I busted to get here from another meeting at 9 o'clock. I don't think it's our colleagues don't want to be here. I think wards as big as ours, the commitments we have, it's very difficult to be in multiple places throughout the day. And we're going to continue to work hard for our residents.
Can I just add, like, honestly?
We're live this hour at the Scarborough Centre Station. This is where Mayor Olivia Chow just unveiled the 2024 city budget. This is a budget she says she's brought together after listening to community consultations, looking at an 8% increase to the property tax, still dealing with a pretty significant deficit in this city.